So we finished the last episode on obviously the bicentenary bottle from Remy Martin and the more elegant vintage bottle that you helped produce. Um, how was Bowmore doing then into the early 80s? And what was what did the rest of the industry look like then? Was it sort of still on that upward trajectory?
Yes, the industry was, and single malt whiskies were definitely making their mark in the markets, both in Europe and even America was beginning to have some attraction.
Yeah. What sort of percentage now would you say? Because last episode you said when you started it was kind of what 1-2%.
Oh yeah, you're talking 2 to 2.53% or something like that. It was very small.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of the volume relative to the size of the distilleries,
mm-hmm.
Was quite high.
Yeah, and what was the rest of the industry doing? Was it getting more backing now? Because previously you mentioned it.
What was happening was that the individual brands were primarily investing and promoting themselves. There wasn't an industry body. There was, of course, the Scotch Whisky Association, but that was more of an administrative organisation rather than a promotional operation. So you had Seagrams that were promoting Glenlivet and Glen Grant, and you had Highland Distilleries with Macallan, and then you had William Grant with Glenfiddich, and then the other smaller companies that were doing their own marketing and investing in their products. But there was success being seen, and the pioneers were doing very well, and Glenlivet was visible, highly visible, as indeed, of course, was Glenfiddich, what I would say was the pioneering brand.
Yeah, and they were kind of, I guess, so they were still the same ones as when we were talking about.
Yes.
Early 70s. Were there any, I guess by the early 80s, were there any other more independent whiskey distilleries now coming into the fold that weren't your Glenlivet, your Glenfiddich, and
there were no major brand was coming through.
mm-hmm.
But there were brands that were becoming evident, but there was nobody quite with the sort of volume that the Glenfiddich, Glenlivet, Glen Grant had.
Just a few cases here.
Yes, I mean, Lafroig was a good example, and as I did mention before, the Distillers Company at that time was not at all interested really in promoting the sector.
Yeah. Okay.
So what could have been a considerable investment, apart from Cardow or Cardew, it was, and as I say, Lagavulin.
Macallan, were they?
Oh, they were coming through very strong at that stage.
And were they still independent at that?
They were still independent, yes, and but I can't remember when they were taken over by Highland Distilleries. I'll try and find that out.
Yeah. And do you think that's why they're seen as such a premium brand now, because they were one of the early?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yes. They were like Glenfiddich. They devoted a lot of time, effort, and energy and personnel behind the brand.
Yeah. So your strategy and thinking behind doing the same for Bowmore was clearly
similar.
Similar.
Yes.
Yeah.